We've had 2 weeks since College Football 26 launched, and we're getting a big title update today. If you've booted up the game and wondered, well, what exactly was updated, I've got you covered just like I do with every update. Over the years, EA has honestly been pretty rough with getting these communicated early. I mean, I feel like we're waiting to super late in the day when we actually get these patch notifications out there, but it's kind of a breath of fresh air to finally see them commit to communicating these updates before they hit our systems. I've also seen a lot of you in the comments of my videos with issues in the game, especially freezing. I know a lot of you on PS5 have been having that, and it looks like we've got a good amount of those fixed, but not entirely sure all of them are fixed. I also have a hidden change that happened in today's update, but more on that later in the video. Let me know in the comments below which issues you are not seeing fixed in this list, and I'll do my best to flag it with the developers. Let's go ahead and talk about the gameplay changes first. One of the first things they outline here is they fixed an issue where play yard remained visible after the snap when using home field advantage. I personally haven't had this happen, but maybe once or twice. But when it happens, it is an absolute nuisance. They also fixed a rare issue causing a player to freeze in place during hit stick attempts. One of the more prevalent ones I think a lot of us have seen is that they fixed an issue preventing stunts and twists from activating properly when selecting on the play call menu in online games. Now, you could go ahead and use the left on the D-pad and then use the right bumper or R1 if you're in PlayStation to kind of go ahead and select them. But honestly, doing those pre-snap is pretty difficult, especially if you're playing an online game. But having this actually fixed in the play call menu is great because you can actually pick the one you want with plenty of time. And when you get to the snap, you can focus on setting up your defense how you want to set them up and not having to do one extra thing. They also fixed an issue that sometimes prevented a catch animation from playing when clicking on and taking control of a wide receiver during a route. I personally have had this happen a ton, and maybe that's why I'm throwing too many interceptions in the game, but I'm happy to see this one adjusted. There's a variety of tuning and animation improvements to physics-based tackling. If you've played this game, I think you've seen there's been some wonky tackling. I feel like this will be happening throughout the year, just like they did with Madden, where they're going to try to update this consistently. But it's good to see them adjusting it already now. There's also been a variety of game stability improvements, which I'm assuming are some of the freezing issues that we've sort of seen, and then fix an issue causing blockers on power O plays to sometimes take their initial movement in the wrong direction. I think it's fair to say that blocking in this game will probably get plenty of updates to gameplay because Lord knows it needs a lot of hope. I'm just hoping that we get a bigger gameplay update in the next patch, which I'm assuming is probably going to be around the time that Madden launches or close to after that, because blocking definitely needs some help. If you've been deep into Dynasty mode like me, you've likely been frustrated with the fact that it's been raining way too much. We had a solid update last week while I was on vacation, and that's also been applied to offline Dynasties too. So here's a breakdown of the changes that hit Dynasty mode today. Reduce the chance of rain in Dynasty and Road to Glory games, thank God, because it rains way too much in both of those modes. They've also fixed an issue where cold weather and snow would occur in warm weather climates, like during the college football playoffs, for example. Glad to see that one fixed. They fixed an issue where starters who were juniors could decide to transfer due to playing time. This is the big one in my opinion, because I have seen this in my own dynasties where a guy that is a junior, that is a starter in his position, was transferring due to playing time. I'm like, buddy, I can't really get you on the field any more than I'm getting you on the field right now. They also fixed an issue where only the IBL column was showing for fullbacks and redshirt players spreadsheet. They fixed an issue preventing players from entering free practice, which was an annoying bug. And they fixed an issue where the game could freeze during overtime when playing the moments. I think that's another big one. A lot of people who play Dynasty mode are playing this in a play the moment style, and having that issue pop up is frustrating when you've played an entire game and it freezes in one of the biggest moments possible. I do anticipate that we're going to see more changes coming to Dynasty mode in a much larger patch, but this is okay for right now because I think the rain was a nuisance. Some of the other things were smaller. The juniors playing time thing was a major issue, but there's a lot more we want to see done. It's also worth noting that the changes that hit online Dynasty last week are also coming to offline Dynasty files. But even if you're playing a Dynasty by yourself, I always recommend doing it as a single player online Dynasty so that you get all the changes early. If you run it as an offline one, you're not getting the updates until like a week or two later. And for some people, that may not be a big issue, but if there's a game-breaking bug, imagine having to wait an extra week or two to get that fixed because you decided to do offline instead of just clicking an online button when your console is pretty much always connected online. So the big updates here were position changes. You can now change a player's position with their current position group without penalty to their skill caps. You'll be free to swap positions with these groupings. So running back can be swapped between fullback and running back without any penalty. Offensive line, left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle, all those can be interchanged. Same thing with defensive line with your left edge, right edge, and defensive tackle. Linebacker, your Sam, Mike, and Will, all can be swapped around. Defensive back, corner, free safety, and strong safety. And then your specialists, kickers, and punters. All these can now be moved around, changed around within those specific position groups without actually having a penalty applied to that player. And what I'm really happy to see is that athlete recruits can now set their initial position without impact to the skill group cap. So if you recruit an athlete before, if you were changing them to whatever their position might be, They can actually have a penalty. Well, this doesn't matter. If you get an athlete recruit, you can change them to any position that really works for them, depending on what you ultimately see, and they will not have a penalty to their impact skill cap groups. The biggest piece of this, in my opinion, though, is that a player's new skill caps are now more strongly influenced by their development trait and their school year. So younger players and those with higher development traits will have higher skill caps at their new position. They also address a coach point exploit when retiring and then creating a new coach character, which, again, some people were doing in kind of a scummy way. Hopefully, if you have an online league, you didn't have people doing that. And then reduce the impact of your reach, your potential ability, which is a motivation tier 1 for better coachability and recruiting balance. And this is going to affect the influence given to recruits when a player at their position hits a skill group cap. There have been a lot of videos made around this, and I just think EA realized that, hey, this is giving way too much of a bonus. We need to dial this back. Unfortunately, though, they haven't adjusted the issue with player skill caps for guys like Bryce Underwood. His skill caps are actually so bad in the game that he caps out at an 87 or 88 overall, no matter what, unless you use an architect ability to essentially, bump his skill caps up. And he was one of the best freshman recruits in a long time, so this is pretty crazy. I've talked to EA about this, and they've confirmed they have a fix for it, but I'm just assuming it'll be coming in the next update, hopefully, because it's not just impacting Bryce Underwood, it's impacting the recruits that are generated in the offseason and so many other positions. So I'm hoping to see this fixed soon. And speaking of big-time players, the real college football and NFL seasons are just around the corner. And while your favorite team might let you down this year, the gear over and maybe next year won't suck, unlike your favorite team. I created Maybe Next Year last year, and it's quickly grown into a brand that sports fans love. I've got a 15% off flash sale happening right now on everything on the site. If you click sports at the very top of the website, you can easily find your favorite sport and see if a city you love has a dope design. And every single week, I'm dropping new designs on Maybe Next Year. And you can tell by the reviews that people are loving the quality of the merch they bought from the site. And remember, even if your favorite team might suck, maybe next year's merch definitely won't. Road to Glory is getting a quick update too, but it's entirely based around a weird exploit. If you started a Road to Glory and ended up as a redshirt your freshman year, you get your pre-order bonus applied at the start of your second season as well, because you were technically also a freshman, just a redshirt version. That is now fixed in the game, so when you get your pre-order bonus, it is just your freshman year, and even if you are a redshirt freshman, it won't apply a second time. Ultimate Team is getting a few updates, and here's a rundown on what's happening. So for campaigns, the leaderboard campaigns are new limited time competitions tied to specific programs that'll place you on a leaderboard with a small group of players, making hopefully every game more impactful. Now these are going to be available right from the Ultimate Team main menu, and whether you prefer head-to-head or solo play, your performance on key objectives like points scored or wins determines your leaderboard placement. These are also going to vary with each individual program the campaigns are associated with, and you're going to earn based on the different tier that you unlock. They're also introducing new types of events that will challenge players to build their best team with a set of team requirements. So in order to enter specific program events, you'll have to have these specific lineups set. There's also an easier way for users to alter their lineups to meet these requirements. So you could build your strongest all-SEC team and take on players or other players in the head-to-head conference clash event, for example. You can head to the event screen to find more information on currently active live events, and then from here you can actually build your best available lineup for this event with a few button presses. And directly from the lineup screen, you'll be able to browse which events are currently available and get information as to each event's requirements. So if your lineup meets the requirements, you're good to go, but if you have holes in your roster, it'll be identified for you. You'll be given paths to acquire the missing pieces. And then the last little bit here for Ultimate Team, they've updated the progress and reward screen for players, so they're now a little bit easier to understand. Presentation has a few updates as well, but unfortunately there's no update to the blinding white flash you get in practice mode in Dynasty or random fans that show up in practice mode as well. But here's a breakdown of what they're changing and fixing with presentation. They made an adjustment of the first down rousers in Michigan. They fixed an issue allowing an opposing player to participate in the Gator Chomp on field celebration, which is pretty hilarious, especially when you were doing Florida State in that one. They fixed an issue so that Nebraska's throw bone celebration is only used on defense, and they fixed an issue where Missouri State and Delaware's bowl and playoff end zones had a generic coloring to them. They also fixed an issue where the Texas State Cannon touchdown celebration was in the wrong location, and they fixed an issue where camera obstructions would occur during certain cutscenes. I did mention in the very beginning there is a hidden thing that's been adjusted in this update, and it appears that EA has tuned both aggressive catches and stiff arm success a little bit if my testing was done right. Now from what I've been able to test, and again, take it for what it's worth, aggressive catches seem to get broken up significantly more than before, and I've also had way less situations where wide receivers were mossing multiple defensive backs, especially smaller wide receivers. For the stiff arms, the biggest difference I'm seeing is that it doesn't appear you get the same momentum after successful stiff arms as you kind of did consistently before the patch. And before this patch went live, it seemed that nearly every stiff arm is allowing you to keep your momentum without slowing down, But the limiting testing I've done feels like we're seeing the momentum kind of change after stiff arms and not nearly as many successful stiff arms, especially for people that are spamming, A or X trying to get a stiff arm just to randomly pop. My assumption here is that EA likely made a small tweak to each of these two things in the game, and they'll test it out to see how the feedback is in game. But if there's a significant change, I would imagine we see that in future patch notes. What are you hoping EA adjusts next in College Football 26? Leave a comment down below to let me know, and if I see enough people mentioning something, I'll do my best to flag it with the developers. Be safe, be smart, tell someone you love them. Catch you guys on the next one.